Okay, good morning, and thank you very much for joining us. I am Iyori Folani. Yesterday we were talking about the election, the coming elections and the adjustments of the timetable as a result of a number of considerations, including something about religious as well. But that's not our focus today. Today, let's go back to what we've touched on before, which is this whole matter about transmission, the electronic transmission of results. And that's because we have with us this morning the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters, Honorable Prince Bayo Balogun. Should be joining us any moment from now. There's been so much toing and froing, and people keep on talking about it. And I suppose that's because there are those who are, let me say, they mistrust it. And there are those who are saying that there is some advantage to be got if we have the electronic or if we don't have electronic voting. We've talked about this whole matter about the instantaneous. It's not just you must transmit, but let it be transmitted instantaneously. And as you recall, just paraphrasing the whole process, what the Senate had finalized on was that, look, yeah, go ahead, let it be, but if we cannot, for whatever reason, do an immediate instantaneous electronic transmission of these results, then there's this form EC8A, which will then stand as the record. A lot of people howled and said, no, this is what we're talking about. It's all or nothing. But we've talked about this, and I think the conversation has gone down, but we still have to talk about it some more now that the honorable gentleman is here. So as soon as he's ready, in fact, Honorable Prince Bayo Balogun, are you there now?
Yeah, good morning. I'm here.
Good morning. Thank you very much for coming on. This is Iyori Folani in studio in Lagos. Delighted to have you, Honorable. So this, what do you make of the much ado about instantaneous electronic transmission of results? And there are those who say that if that cannot be done, then there's something very badly wrong. And therefore, the whole integrity of the election might be compromised. First of all, address that main question about, is that the way you understand it? Because you are part of the lawmakers that came up with this position that we have now adopted.
Yeah, thank you once again. Good morning. I think many people talking on this subject matter do not even understand what it's all about. From EC8A is the primary result you get from the polling units. Is the nucleus of the whole results that will be collated. So every agent gets a copy of that result. The security officer gets a copy of that result from the polling units, signed by the presiding officer and all the party agents that participated in the election. The beavers, the presiding officer is expected, after the result has been signed from EC8A, which is your result sheet, is snapped with the beavers and now sent to the RF. So all the agents will go to the ward collating units with their own copy with the presiding officer, where all the results from a unit or from all the units within a ward will now be collated into another format where you have a result for the whole ward. So if you have discrepancies within the results presented by the presiding officer at the ward level, different from probably what the agents are holding, yes, the RF can be a backup where you can check if what was transmitted is what any of the party agents are holding. First, we ask ourselves, what are we trying to cure? What we are trying to cure is a problem where the result moving from the units get to the wards and get altered. Some of them might be altered. probably the one with the presiding officer or the one with any of the party agents. But we want a situation where we can get something to cross-check with. But that does not mean we should make any one of them to be the only source, apart from the Form ECHA itself, because that is the result you are trying to check. So we must find a way of ensuring that what we record at the ward level is the reflection of what actually transferred at the units. So some people are saying we should make the result on the RF the primary source when you have the result itself physically on ground. What about a situation where someone mischievously preloaded another result on the beavers before transmitting? What about a situation where someone hacked the RF and now posted another result from different from what was posted by the presiding officer? So you must be careful when you even make some of these laws so that we don't even get ourselves into a bigger problem. So what we are saying is the result is what we are holding. If there is a problem, then it is not every word, every unit or every word that would be discrepancies. So if there's no discrepancy anywhere, then what we need to do is just what collating officer collates, then move to the next level. That is the local government. But when you have differences, what should be done? I believe at this level, what people should be asking should be, if there are discrepancies, how do we resolve them? Not to be insisting that one level should be, one mode should be considered the best option. So, and when you're talking about real time, which is one of the other issues people are talking about, we are not practicing online voting yet. What we are just doing is still the normal manual voting, and what we are transmitting is like a picture. It's not in digital form. You are not typing the numbers, you are not typing the result and sending the result. In such a situation, that's why you cannot go to the next level and collate on itself using the appropriate software. If you send 300 from the unit A and 300 from unit B, by the time he has them together, it becomes 600. So that's not what we are doing for now. We are just sending pictures of the results so that if there is any reason for them to cross-check, they can just cross-check. And again, the INEC chairman, during the civil society program we had, I think over the weekend, also explained that you still have the beavers itself, with which you took the picture. So you can check from the beavers. You don't need to wait for the RF. Because if there might not be network within the area that you are operating, there might not be network in such a place. So you cannot then rely on the RF. So what you need to do is to check from the beavers. It's like I use my phone to take a picture of the results and I send it to someone. By the time I met the person, he said they have not seen the one I sent. I will open my phone and show the person, this is what I sent. So that is the beavers. The beavers is the equipment with which you took the picture. So that's what the INEC chairman has just explained over the weekend. And I think when we're having meetings now, our focus should be moving forward with the law. What the law says, how do we now move forward? What are the few challenges that we feel? It's not about saying, no, we don't want. Even myself as the chairman of the committee, there are some positions I proposed that were turned down. I so much believe in the early voting. I believe with the number of people that are involved in essential duties, like the media, the police officers, security officers in general, the INEC officials, all these people are not allowed to vote during the election because they are not within their own area where they registered. But it's about the majority. I cannot force anything on members. And even in the issue of voting by inmates, there are so many people who are waiting trials, yet they cannot vote. And the law, they have a judgment to that effect. There's another, even an appeal court judgment again that supported being given opportunity to vote. But some members felt no. Although that's still left to INEC to decide because the judgment was actually against INEC. So some of these issues is not about it's either my way or the highway. It's about let's all sit down. Let's look at the most reasonable position. What you feel so convinced about may not be the best option. So as it is today, the focus should have even left the issue of transmitting or not transmitting. There are so many other areas in the act that we should be discussing now, like the amendment in the funds, the release of funds, because even before, let me just say this before we leave the issue of the transmission, section 63.
Okay.
Reason why the proviso which actually caused some of these issues was put is because people are already taking real time to be what you'll be watching on the screen, and if it is not real time, that there will be crisis. Then that's why the proviso was actually put. If there is no transmission due to any external influences that is beyond the control of the presiding officer, the form ECAT, which is your result, the result itself is still the primary source. That is what you want to record from. So just go ahead and do the recording. Unless other agents within the unit believe something has happened to that result, which cannot be taken up by the INEC official, the management of INEC at the end of the day. But if there is no dissenting voices, just go ahead and do the recording, then you move to the next level. And I must say this also, the word collating level is the most dangerous of all the collation levels, because that's where most of these collation officers are always being attacked, because they have left the unit, they've conveyed at the word collating unit. That's where they usually have serious attacks. And most of them usually want to move from that level to the LGA level where you have more security. So it is not a place where we tell them to be waiting for what they already have, because the results are already with the agents of every party, just to cross-check if there's any issue. So leaving that aside and moving to other areas that we feel we should be talking about now. Because making laws is like also what? Preempt.
Well, I hear you, sir, because
making laws, yes. Making laws is to preempt possible situation. In the law, sections 3.3 of the Electoral Act mandates the government to release the fund for the general election at least a year before the election. So we are in a situation where most of the time, by February, March, we have not even released the budget. The budget has not been signed. As of today, the budget has not been signed. We are already in March, and the election will be in January. So it's already late to say the fund should be released within 1 year. So if you are not proactive, decide to, instead of making it 1 year, let's just be safe, make it 6 months. We are not saying it should be 6 months. We are saying not later than 6 months. If the money is ready earlier than 6 months, then it should be released. We should not create laws and expect the government to violate it under some conditions. Because if we say, leave it at 1 year so that we can put them on their edge, on their toes.
Mm-hmm.
No, you are creating a situation where they are going to violate it, because it has become impossible, because you cannot even release the money when the budget has not even been passed, and we're already in March. And that's what we've been having. There's no time we are past budget and releases are effected before March, even when we are past it. The money still has to come in. A budget is a projection of revenue and expenditure. The revenue that you have not collected, how can you expend it? So if you are in January, February, March, it is the money that comes in that you start spending. So we must be very careful when we're making laws. Laws has to be preemptive. What could happen? What are the possible situations? And then you make laws to correct in advance. So, and again, too, we look at the area of jurisdiction of pre-election matters. Within what we have before is a situation where a pre-election matter from Lagos can be taken to Kaduna to be heard. So what we are now saying is that pre-election matters should only be heard in the Federal High Court, in the Federal Capital Territory, or in the jurisdiction where the cause of action arose. So if it's not happening in Lagos, probably because of your cited security reason or any other reason, it will only be taken to Abuja Federal High Court, not any other states. So that we should remove a situation where people will look for where they have advantage and take cases to where they have their influence. It must happen within the state where the cause of action arose, or federal capital, federal high court at the federal capital territory. And we also looking at various other reforms too in the issue of party register. In the last act, what the law says is that you must submit your party membership register a month before the primaries or any other convention or congresses. But we found out that in the last election, people violated this provision, but there were no consequences. We've now been able to have consequences. There was a candidate that moved from one party to another party just a week before the primaries of the party he went to in the last dispensation. But because there are no consequences, nothing could be done. But now, what we are saying now,
so has that been written out? Has that been written out entirely from possibility?
In the Constitution, in the act now, you must submit 21 days. We have reduced it to 21 days before the primaries. And any party that fails to submit the register of party members will not participate in any election that year. And any member whose name is not listed in the register of a party cannot participate in any primaries within that party. So we've been able to show that, okay, people stay within their party. You must be registered within the party before you can actually participate. So because some of these things we just usually assume, but we must put them in black and white. It's now a law. If you are not registered within that party, you cannot participate. If your party do not have a party register, that means there are no members, then they cannot participate in any primaries. They cannot participate in the general election because there won't be any candidate for any political post from that party. So, and again, the area of in the section 84 too, we've been able to remove the provision for indirect primaries because there have been this yearning, and this is what we discussed together. We considering many of the parties during our consideration and various meetings with all these political parties. This section 77 and section 84 were discussed heavily there because in section 77, they all complained that people moved away from their party, having lost the election primaries, they moved to another party. What can we do? So and we're able to come up with the position that once your name is not on the register, you cannot participate. And then 84 too, most of them believe that some category of people within the party usually hijack indirect primaries. They hijack the delegates. And you find out that most of the parties now actually opted for indirect primaries. So, and we are looking at how do we give powers to the grassroots, how do we return the power to the grassroots, people within the parties, ordinary members, to be able to have impact, to be able to say, yes, this is who we actually want. So that's one of the reasons that we say, okay, let's stick to direct primaries or consensus. And consensus, like some people are saying, is not about leadership of the party deciding, it's about the aspirants deciding. And you must sign a letter saying that you have actually withdrawn for a particular candidate amongst yourself.
But Honorable, since we're talking about all of these provisions here, what can be done? Because I'm aware that...
And this one too is also very important. Let me mention this one too.
Please.
The issue of when you have overvoting. In the last act, if there is an overvoting, the unit will be cancelled. The result of that unit will be cancelled, and nothing will happen thereafter. But now, what we are saying that when it's cancelled, there should be a rerun, unless the results from that unit will not affect the total outcome. of the election. That means if the total result from that total eligible voter from that unit is probably 1,000, and the lead between the winner and the first runner-up is already about 2,000. That means if one person wins the whole 1,000, it does not make any difference again. So in such a situation, you don't do a rerun, you don't do the rerun. But if the result, possible outcome from that unit is wide enough to alter the final outcome of the election, then you must order a rerun in that unit. And again, finally, we've been able to attach penalties to many of the offenses that did not have consequences before. And even those that has consequences, some of them will be able to hype it up so that it will be there'll be the deterrent.
Give me a couple of examples. Give me a couple of examples, sir, of attaching penalties, because this is one thing that people have always been complaining about, that there's a sort of impunity. Nothing will happen. That whole concept about nothing will happen. What has been included in the law now that people can now hang on to and say that, look, once it is proved that you have indeed,
like the one I said in section 77, when if you don't submit your register or your name is not on the register, nothing happens. There was no consequence. So you still go ahead. Like I said, the last election, someone moved from one party a week to the primaries, and they went and contested, and nothing happened. That's why the fact that the law said you cannot. But when you say you cannot and there's no consequences, then you continue to do it. But now you know that if your name is not on the register, you will not be allowed to contest. Then I must go and register now. And you must register before deadline. And your party must submit the register before the deadline. So these are issues now. These are things that will make you, stand up and do the right thing.
Sorry, sir. Where does the responsibility lie to make sure that all that you've been telling us is widely dispersed by way of information, so people can't say that they don't know? Is it within the parties themselves? Because I suppose the law is the law, and that just stands. People will use that as.
See, when you're talking about political party, we are not talking about general voters. We are talking about political parties. Okay. They are solid organizations, or they are supposed to be solid organizations registered by law. And they have officers, they have legal officers.
Okay.
You have the legal officers from the national to the states to the local government to the world level. You have publicists to a PRO.
One moment. Let me.
Immediately the law is passed, they are supposed to get a copy and be circulated, and they are supposed to go along with it. And that's one major problem we have now. Instead of people sticking to what the law says now, we have gone past the formation of the law. We are no longer formulating. We are already implementing. People should move away from a few months ago when we are still discussing. We are not discussing about what will be there now. We are already
now there's the law, there's a statute. There's a statute. Let me bring on. I beg your pardon, sir. I must interrupt. I beg your pardon. Let me just interject very, very briefly. Mr. Yakub has been waiting to join us. Good morning, Mr. Yakub. Go ahead, please.
Yeah. Good morning, Fiori. And then good morning to Honorable. And then three things. Number one. As far as I'm concerned, the House of Representatives and the Senate as a whole, they have done a wonderful job in the sense that for them to allow a transmission of the election and then also giving the backup in the case of when the network is not that good in some area. So if you cannot transmit the result immediately, you can just use from Easy 8 as they always tell us. I think they have done a great job. For me, I stand to be corrected. There is some mischievous politician. Station whereby if there is no backup chivalry, I can tell you for free, if somebody went ahead and then win that election, and then in some area whereby they are able to transmit that real-time result as another, they can take it to court that the law makes that you should be able to transmit this in real time, and then they will not say that the network fuck up. They took it to court, and then the court may say, okay, this election is annoying. So kudos to the National Assembly for them to give backup to that very, because between me and you, and then deep down in those people that against that backup, they know that in this country, the network info in my village, that is the truth. In my village, there's some area where if you want to get network, you have to climb the tree. So, and then for them to say 99% of this country is covered by the network, it is a lie. It is a lie. So, kudos to them. That's number one. Number two, the direct primary, and then the consensus of a thing that they are talking about. Mm-hmm. A situation whereby, for example, they put somebody's picture, and then they say, okay, we should line up in the person that we really want to lead us, or the person that wanted to vote for and all that. In my area here, during the Ambo days time, when they use direct primary as at that time, I can tell you, this is a laughable thing. In my area here, there are some boys, they carry pure water. They told those women that line up in one particular, which I don't want to mention that person at that time. They line up in that image of that person, and then they told them that, Mama, move from that place. As those women they don't answer them, they begin to throw them pure water. So if such thing happen, what happened? Honorable, that question goes to you. What happened to that very particular polling unit or within the primary election? What happened? That's number one. Number two, you see, this country, politicians, they always plan ahead. They always plan ahead. No matter law that you bring in, they will plan ahead. Some politician knows that in this very particular place, I'm not popular. And then they will make sure they go there, they disrupt the election there, in order for the INEC to that very particular polling unit. So if such thing happen, again, what happen? So to me, the only thing I know is direct primary election, it is very, very good. And then the consensus, yes, I remember this. The consensus of the thing, honorable, a session whereby two people are fighting or three people are fighting for one particular position, and then the party hierarchy is okay, we pick this one as a consensus. What if one or two of them agree that no, we should go for election, and then the party hierarchy so no, we are going to do consensus? What will happen at that kind of a station? What's going to happen? Thank you. God bless you, sir.
Well, thank you, Mr. Yakub. You really used all your time to squeeze quite a number of questions in. Tell you what, Honorable Prince Bayo Balogun, we'll take a break so that when I come back, then you can just, talk about all of these matters, without interruption. Stay with us, please. We'll be right back. Okay, welcome back, and our guest is Honorable Prince Bayo Balogun, Chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters. We're looking at the amended Electoral Act, and the last caller, Mr. Yakub, who had called in, he actually had a whole buffet of matters. Honorable, how would you take the matters?
Sure, I want to commend him for his contribution. That means he really understand the system, and I appreciate what he has said. One, I'll take the problem of consensus that he mentioned.
Yes.
You see, that was one of the issues that I said, that the consensus as written in the acts is not the way it used to be practiced before. What the law says now is that the consensus must be between the aspirants, and all the other aspirants that step down must write a letter stating they are stepping down for a particular candidate. So it must be done by them. It is not the leaders that will say, this is the person we are bringing forth. So on the other one, the one for the direct primaries, you see, there's no 100% perfect situation, and I believe that's one of the reasons why we should go to polling units now, prepared. In 2007, Mr. President, who was then the governor of Lagos State, ensured that people actually went with spy cameras to get information from the polling units. And those are one of the evidences used in Osun to win back the election when they have to go for, when they went for litigation and they realized that people did multiple voting. They got a recording that, yes, people were doing multiple voting. But then how to now also prove it thereafter? Then I think forensic auditor to come, and forensic experts were also invited from UK. You see, people must be prepared. We must be able to give evidences. We must be able to go the long haul. We don't expect the law to cure everything. There was no law that says we should do forensic audit in 2007, and the case lasted up to 2010, over 3 years. But eventually, ACM won, because people must be ready. You see, we cannot put everything in the law. Human behavior cannot be legislated, and that's one of the areas that we feel we should also try our best to be ready for this. These elections are run by political parties. Political parties must have capacity. They must have people, and they must have resources to ensure that some of these things are done. A situation where some parties do not even have agents.
Well, Honorable, I beg your pardon. Can you hear me? Can you hear me, Honorable?
Yeah, I can hear you now.
Oh, okay. Sorry, we also have another caller on the line, and I know that there still are a few outstanding issues that maybe when you come back, you might be able to pick up on all of those, in addition to what Reverend Dominic is going to be presenting.
Hello,
good morning, Reverend Dominic. Go ahead, please. Thank you for holding on.
I want to a little bit disagree with my friend Yakub. The issue here with me and you and the honorable in the studio, we're fighting about this electoral law transmission with time and the proviso. The proviso, we are fighting about our own character. Something like this has happened before. In 2015, that's what we call incident form. Because of the mischief of the politicians, that is true, and the electoral officers, they abandoned the system and went to all incident form. So incident form becomes the main thing. If we are not careful at this election, the network will not work. Not because it will not work, but because our people who want to win an election shortcut will not make it work. This is why some of us, and I stand by it, we can have gone full electronic transmission, full stop. So we can, stop that mischief makers. That is, by the way, the law has become the law. But I want to disagree with also your guest this morning about consensus candidates. Let me take him for example. If he said personally there are 5 contested elections, and let's say somebody else he knew he's better done in attitude, in character, in education, now somehow get a consensus ticket, will he sign that document? We are creating no problem here, because I'm being a politician, I'm not just a pastor, I've been in grassroots. It is difficult to accept defeat in our nation. What is then now will bring a lot of challenges. But the only party that can have consensus now, you know what I mean? It's only APC. They have the thought of the gun. They can tell you, stop, sir. We can make you this or that. Other parties cannot get a genuine consensus. It will cost more war. But that's by the way. What I'm trying to say, Nigerians must make up to have a credible election. There's nothing we can legislate if our lives, our characters are not upright. Even though when you make one single transition, they'll find a way out. But the consensus will not work. We can open it up. If a party has a consensus, let them go for it. If they want delegates, it's more better. Like you said, 10 people come together, they say they should agree with you. In Nigeria...
Okay, Reverend. I think the Honorable, he has got your direction.
I think it would do us good if we all listen and understand some of these things. We said consensus is between the aspirants. If one of them says no, that means there's no consensus. Then you go back to the primary, to the direct primaries. If there's no consensus, then
it's a very important point that you're making, Honorable. That
yes,
they must all
consensus.
agree.
All of them must agree. Then they must sign. There must be a letter saying I'm withdrawing. It's not that they will assume you must sign. It must be done by you. So if you are not withdrawing, nobody can force you.
Okay.
So that's what we are saying. That's why we said, let's go and read the law as it is today, not as it was.
Okay.
Go and read it. That's the position of consensus now. Is between the aspirants. So, and the one of the direct, look, we can never be perfect, no matter what we are trying to cure is a situation where delegates are bought, and if you don't have the money and you have the people behind you, then the people cannot do anything as long as the delegates that are going to vote. So we are not saying the direct and the consensus too, they are 100% foolproof. And someone on the issue you said about comparing what we have now with the incident form of the card reader. Look, you cannot compare the two. They are not the same thing at all. From EC8A is the primary source of collation. That is the law. That is what you are collating. It is the result on that sheet of paper you want to collate. So either it was transmitted or not transmitted, you have the original with you. Starting from the original, in fact, that is what the law says. The law says you must go to the collation unit center. The presiding officer will take from ECHA, the collation officer from the ward will take the copy from the presiding officer from the units under that ward. Then to collate, and while collating, you must check with the one from the agents to be sure that they all have the same thing. If they don't have the same thing, that is when you need to go start checking on your record, on the RF of the beavers to see who did what. Because if nobody have actually tampered with his own copy, everybody is supposed to have the same thing because it's a carbonated copy. You don't write this differently. It's a carbonated copy. If it's going to be 10 copies, all of them must be carbonated. It's the same writing. And when you all sign, it's the same signature that must go down to the 8th one. So these are some of the information we must get straight. So what you are having with Party A, Party B, Party C, E, D, E, F should be the same thing with the one the presiding officer you are going together with to the collation center. So if what you all have is what you get to the collation center with, then there's nothing you want to verify from RF or Beavers or anything. You just go ahead and collate. But when you are now saying you are waiting for something else, when you have the original with you, the original is what you are still looking for. Inside that, the picture you want to see is the original, is a copy of the original you are holding. So you can't compare that with from ECHA issue with incident form in when you are doing card reader. And that's one of the reasons why we move away from card reader now, because that one could only check your fingerprint. But now, with the beavers, you can check your facial. So you have two alternatives now. So with that one, there's no reason why you tell me that it will not catch, because it's a more advanced system. That's why you are no longer using incident form with beavers. And again, too,
let me again, I must come in because
now,
Honorable, I beg your pardon. I really am sorry, Honorable. Everybody is really enjoying the explanation that you're giving us from your perspective as the chairman of the House Committee on Electoral Matters. You know this matter inside out. So people are calling in. And so I must put another person on. Mr. George, good morning. Thank you for holding on. Go ahead, please.
Okay, good morning, Uncle Yori, and good morning to the lawmaker.
Yeah. Thank you.
Uncle Yori, the controversy that has continued is deliberate. To me, one should not help them to perpetuate it. People are doing it because those who are doing it are trying to delegitimize the election even before it holds, because they've seen that they cannot win. The lawmaker is saying, what he's saying is very clear. The law is very clear. And if you are in a business and you don't have what it takes to win and you want to spoil it, you should expect what your result will be. INEC does not collate results through IRED. It is the funds, the physical funds that are returned from the polling booths to the collation centers that they collect. So whether there is immediate transmission of the results to the IRS portal or not, the results can only be announced after all the physical papers have been seen and collated. So you ask any reasonable person what is the place of immediate transmission when that transmission itself is not the one that will be used to declare results?
Yeah.
The collation is not done inside the computer. It's done physically. And you know, at the collation centers, there are some times the officers at the polling booths will bring reports of violence or some happenings that delegitimize the results that has been produced to the collation center. You know that, for example, if there was violence and some people can take a fake one and send it to the IRS. People who are doing all these things, they know what they are doing.
Yeah, yeah.
So,
well,
let's not help them to perpetuate it.
Oh, all right.
The issue of direct primary, if you permit me, is the lawmaker has explained everything explicitly. Direct primary says everybody in the party has a say on who they want to send. Is that not a better standard? Then the word consensus, people should check the dictionary. It means total agreement by everybody without exception. So if the law is saying everybody, all the contestants should write that this is the person we are all going to line up behind, that is what the consensus says. There must be no one person that says, no, I do not agree.
All right.
That's what the law says, and that's how it should be.
Indeed. Thank you very much, Mr. George. Appreciate your calling in. Honorable, I'm sure you understand why we have to go, because people go from this person to this person. Everybody is keying into this matter, and I'm sure that last presentation, did you have any commentary on it?
No.
We're getting it well.
It's just orchestrating what I've just said.
Yes.
And that's why I said the essence of me coming again today is just to make sure that, yes, we make people, we educate the people, we make people understand the spirit behind the law. And one of these areas I always want to talk about is Section 83, where we are talking about the issue of internal democracy and party supremacy. The law has made it clear. Also, some people will be saying that, the Supreme Court said internal issue of a pre-election matter is internal matter of the parties. But he's saying it's subject to another provision that you must have complied with all the provisions of the Constitution, the Electoral Act, the Constitution of the party. Subject to that, that is why it now becomes internal provision of your internal matter of your party. Because some people are still saying that why did they take a particular one to court and some are actually removed? Because if you are talking about what you give to a party official or what benefits a party official gets within a party or some other issues like that that are not within the Constitution or within the Electoral Act, then whatever is in the Constitution of the party is their own affairs, which they can amend as it suits them. But you must first comply with the Constitution of the country, the Electoral Act, then every other one can be removed. So that is only when the judgment of the Supreme Court that people are actually mentioning it becomes valid. If you have violated your Constitution when you are doing your party primaries or your Congress or your convention, you have violated the Constitution and you have violated the Electoral Act, then you cannot say it's an internal party affair. It becomes a legal issue. So that's one of the areas too that we'll be able to clear out in the last amendments.
So I suppose a lot of what you've been saying is that people just have to be vigilant because there would appear to be some sort of distrust.
Go and read the law. Don't just do beer parlor analysis. Don't talk about when you are talking outside. Read it yourself. Don't take a provision and say they said. Go and read it yourself. Verbatim, read it the way it's being spelled out in the Constitution or the Electoral Act. We should learn to read ourselves, not listen to people. Don't listen to what I just said now alone. Go and confirm whatever I've said. It is not my position.
Which is what pastors say in church. Which is what pastors say in church, that I hope you go home and you go and open your Quran, go and open your Bible and, check these things, read them, understand them. Don't take it that's what I said. So pretty much, parallel principle here. Say there also is a responsibility on the part of the citizenry to be aware of the situation of things. But I think, well, as Mr. George was saying, why is this matter continuing? It's because many would say, people want to find a way out of what would appear to be a tight situation. There are those who still are complaining about the transmission of results, for example. In spite of knowing our environment here, knowing that you cannot have 100% coverage, people are saying, let us start it from somewhere, and it's going to cause a problem. And a lot of the things that you've been talking about are putting in measures to avert or sort of block some of the problems that we, through experience, know can occur. But this time, they won't be able to occur simply because there are now provisions against them. Importantly, you were just one example that you cited is that if your name isn't in the register, then you're not on the cards. You're just spending. I don't know what you came to do there. You are not part of the election. So a number of instances like that all over the place. I guess you said it all. What you said is that people should avail themselves of the stuff in there. You actually have commended some of the people who called in today, saying that it's clear that they have been following the process. But I was saying that whose responsibility is it ultimately? Is it the citizenry themselves? Every one of us. Every one of us.
Yes, including the media. You have a major role to play. But I'm so disappointed in some of the CSOs now. Some of them are crying more than the bereaved.
The civil society organizations.
Civil societies, yes. Some of them are now crying more than the bereaved. Especially the one of the Section 77 that talks about party membership registration. And the issue of transmission, Section 83. How many political parties are actually complaining about Section 83, the transmission? They understand. They know. The chairman of IPAC, Alhaji Yusuf Dantale, was also talking about it. Yes, we want this. It's from ECATA, it is what we really rely on. Our members have a copy. That's the only one we can rely on. That's what we see. And they expect every political party to have a situation room where all their own resources are being collated. So that at the end of the day, when you score, if you know your total score in a particular ward is 3,000, and you find out that INEC wrote 2,900, you look for where the 100 got missing. You'll be able to point it out. And INEC has a window of 1 week to sort out any of such issue that might be under, if the presiding officer have announced results under duress, or their visible private typographical or arithmetic mathematical calculation error. If you score 200 in one unit, another 300 in another unit, but then you want to write 500, maybe you wrote 600 or you wrote 50, missing out a zero. It's very easy for them to know that, oh, this is where the error is. That can still be done within the 1 week window of INEC.
Okay.
To review results. That's why we talk about review of results. So if you don't complain, if the INEC official didn't see it to make such a recommendation to the office, it will not be done. So we must understand some of this. That's why I said, go and get the law, read it, look at your fears, see if your fears have been addressed. Some people are even still talking about what you have addressed. Some fears have been addressed in the amendments, but people I don't even know. They are still talking about it.
Okay, so let me quickly bring on our last caller.
To say that the law is now ready. Every CSO, every media should now talk about what is now there. Yes, we are not saying this is a perfect document. It can never be perfect. Because even if you go back and start amending today, some few clauses will still be changed.
Okay, let me just bring in our last caller. Honorable Balogun, let me bring on our Mazio Korafo. You have to be very brief. Very brief, please. Very brief.
To tell the INEC, for INEC to do what we call grassroots education, grassroots awareness, grassroots, both community level, let their state rec in all the states, their local government educate Nigerians on all this law, this electoral act.
All right.
The earlier they do it, the better for us, so that people will know more. I saw what that INEC have been doing on television every day for the past 2 weeks. They should bring it down not everybody have access to television. Not everybody have access to light 24/7. So INEC should do the needful.
All right.
The 6 states, local government.
Mazi Okorafor, that's the time we have. That's the time we have. I beg your pardon. Thank you very much. I just wanted to include you in the program as well. Honorable Balogun, yes. closing now, because we've almost used up all our time.
Just, we'll close with the issue of who and who. How do we disseminate information?
Yes.
Then also, we must
again very briefly, please. Very briefly.
Information actually for.
We have about 60 seconds.
At this level, more of the information now are for the political parties. It is during general election that the information now gets to the voters. Most of the things we are doing now are supposed to be for political parties, and that's why they must also get involved now, so that they can now educate their own members. Then we now move to the general public education. Yes, that's one of the things we are also doing as we are working today, because at first we must let people understand the spirit behind the law, why we did this law. Then INEC will also take over. INEC has been working. During the weekend, we are doing civil society network program that the INEC chairman was there, myself, chairman of all political parties were invited, so that people who can rub minds and discuss issues. But
okay, Honorable.
To every one of us, let's move forward to now talking about the act, no longer talking about what's supposed to have been in it. This is the law now.
All right. We've run out of time.
Let's look at the problem as it is.
Honorable Prince.
Thank you so much for having me.
Thank you very much, Honorable Prince Bayo Balogun, Chairman, House Committee on Electoral Matters. We really thank you for spending your time with us this morning, helping the dissemination of important information concerning the election and how to make a success of it. Okay, we're going to have to leave it there, but do please join us tomorrow for a fresh edition. I am Yori Volaring. Bye-bye for now.